Hello everyone, welcome to the sixth episode of Sec Talk with Rohit Srivastwa. Sixth episode is coming 1 week late. Last week I was in Goa for a conference and I thought I will be doing some recording and I'll record a session of Sec Talk from Goa. But when you're in Goa and it's difficult to get a time to do other activities when you're in Goa. So unfortunately it was not recorded. But incidentally, the video recording of the conference where I was is ready, and I would do some snippets out of that and publish it as a seventh episode soon. The conference or the conclave was Thought Leadership Conclave on Wireless Security by a company called as Mozo Network in Pune. It's a very good company. I have some past history with this company, and then they did a very interesting, thought-provoking conclave for thought leaders in wireless security. So wait for some time. I'll do some snippets from that. I have that recording of around 1.5 hour. So I'll have to cut it down into a smaller segment and come up with a interesting way of doing that editing. But let me do that, and I'll come up with that seventh episode. So here we are on the sixth episode. Last week I had 5 to 6 news in which, with time, they are now old and not much relevant. But one of the very interesting one was adaptive phishing scheme or adaptive phishing kit, which was released. And in that, the moment you open up a mail, when you get a phishing email, the moment you open up that phishing email, looking at your email address, the phishing page was redesigned at the go or in real time. So say the phishing link is sent to you and you click on it and it detects that it's coming from a Gmail ID. So the phishing page will look like a Google account. If it is coming to a Yahoo ID, the phishing page will look like a Yahoo account. So it was a pretty interesting and adaptive one when it comes to phishing in that way. And it had a lot of other domains also connected, but the major activity or the major role behind the malware was to or the phishing kit was to do the same, phish and do the credential stealing. And that's where, to combat almost all the phishing attempts, we have been always recommending, please go ahead and enable two-factor authentication. Google gives it for free. A lot of companies are giving it for free. Make sure that you have two-factor authentication enabled on your platforms, on your email accounts and other accounts as well, so that you are pretty safe from a password stealing attacks. Starting this week news, we have Telegram, the interesting messaging app. The Telegram has always been popular with a lot of researchers, individuals, as well as terror groups like ISIS and others, where the encryption feature was pretty much giving a lot of confidence to the people to use it. So it came up with an interesting 0 day. The 0 day was released in the beginning of this week, wherein the right to left override was misused. Right to left override is used by developers to convert the string to read it right to left, because few languages of the world read it right to left and rest everyone go left to right. So in that case, the string replaces each other and then changes the position of the characters from left to right to make it read in the other way. So what the attacker used is change the file name at the end of a URL. So suppose you have a URL called as attacker.com/abc.exe. So that's clearly visible that you're downloading an exe file. Suppose abc.jpeg.exe, or double extension method of sending files. So you would realize the file is as a .exe file, and you cannot fool that. But with right to left override, you can swap the last segment of the file name. So the last part of the file can be swapped. So it could be like attacker.com/exe.png. So you would realize that okay, it's a PNG file, but when you do a left to right override, it will be png.exe, by which you can download a binary and which could be malicious. So that was pretty interesting. A few live cases were seen around in the globe acting on that, and in most of the cases, most interesting attack these days are towards the crypto mining. So a lot of crypto mining malware were delivered during that. So what you can do, or what you should do with any of these cases, be a little curious when you're clicking all those links coming over WhatsApp and Telegram and other places. Are you really expecting that link, and are you really wanting to click that link? Have a check and have a good anti-malware solution which will solve your problem. People generally prefer not to have a malware solution on phone, but if you have that, it will protect you. Second news again is with the cryptocurrency. With Monero and JavaScript mining, it has become very interesting for a lot of attackers to use all different innovative ways to use attacking methodology over web browsers. So if you remember, or if you know, there's a file called as favicon.ico. Favicon.ico is the little small icon which is visible on the top of the tab when you open any tab. So on the corner of the tab, the icon which is visible is called a favicon. So what did attackers do is actually embed a coin hive mining script in the favicon and used it to reach out to a lot of people and basically do an attack and do crypto mining that way. So the idea is with most of the Monero mining, we have seen the port number 3333 is being used. So if you have filters of those, a lot of such attacks would not work, because you are actually not allowing those kind of traffic out from your machine or your network to internet, to all those mining hives and mining pools. So that could be one possible solution, but the most important solution here is keep an eye on the kind of attacks which are happening in the globe, so that you are aware of it and you are really cautious about that. Next up is Apple. Apple has been facing a lot of interesting bugs since last 6-7 months, and this one is a special Telugu character. This Telugu character pronounced as gya, as in when in Hindi we speak about gyani or gyan. So the same pronunciation word is being used to crash a lot of Apple devices and Apple applications like iMessage, Safari, and people have seen WhatsApp and Telegram and Twitter also crashing. So remember, Telugu is a very popular language across the globe, and although origin from India, but it's a very popular. I think number fourth or number fifth, somewhere around that. I don't know exact positioning of that language in the hierarchy, but yes, it's a very popular one. And one special character or one character in that language, if used, can actually crash iOS devices. So it's a really interesting one. Although the newer version 11.3 beta for iOS and the patches for Mac OS X are not affected by that, but yes, at the same time, it's very important to update your system and avoid iMessage or Safari or any other application for that matter crashing when you get that Telugu character. I spoke to a few friends on Telegram, on Twitter and other places to understand what that word actually means. So that's how we looked at it. I'll try to figure out a way of showing that character, how it looks like. Doesn't matter, it's just a Unicode character which you would be utilizing, or somebody would be sending to you with a malicious intent on your phone, and if you open that message, the message application may keep crashing. So the best method still again is keep your devices up to date, and that should solve the problem in most of the cases. Next up is Bitmessage. Bitmessage is a P2P encrypted messenger used for a lot of P2P communications, and there's a 0-day in that which is causing the wallet private keys for bitcoins to be leaked out. So basically it's a peer-to-peer communication method used to send messages to user, just like any other P2P software, so to matter. But there's a design flaw in that which is triggering this thing, wherein a malicious message can automatically run a script on your system and technically in the background copy the private keys of your bitcoin wallets. So this was seen in wild, and this has been patched. So move away from the Bitmessage, which is 0.6.2 as of now on Linux, Mac and Windows, and the latest version is 0.6.3.2. So moving on to those versions will actually solve your problem, and you can be safe if you are using either Bitmessage or have bitcoins on your system. it's pretty costly these days to maintain safety around keeping the Bitcoin safe that way. Next is the news from Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, where the Winter Olympics are on, and interestingly, with Olympics and major sporting event these days, attacks are more popular and more active. I remember my days with the Commonwealth Games here, and I remember there were attacks, but they were not so sophisticated, which has become very very active these days now. So, including the last one with Rio and now with Pyeongchang. Interestingly, for this particular issue, we have seen malware or a destroyer malware or a Viper malware coming out, which I think Cisco Talos Group reported, and they are calling it as Olympic Destroyer. So basically, it's a Viper malware where it simply removes the shadow files, remove the backup catalog, tries to make sure that the backup will not work, and once that is cleaned, then it starts encrypting your drives, and so that the file cannot be recovered. So nothing new, but with such kind of events, a lot of malware do cop up and are pretty active in while during those days. So make sure that you are safe around that, you have proper AV solutions and things are taken care of that. The attack on Pyeongchang was not only that, even in the beginning, I think on 9th of February, the official Winter Olympic website was down for around 9 to 10 hours. So attacks with the gaming has been on rise these days. A lot of attacks are coming up to closer to the gaming events, and Japan is getting ready for the Olympic 2020. So do expect variety of interesting attacks coming up during that time. And this Tuesday was a patch Tuesday from Microsoft. So 50 plus vulnerabilities has been patched by a lot of different patches coming out from Microsoft's Office, and a lot of them are covering either Microsoft Office, Windows, or the Edge browser, where few remote code executions were there. So I would advise everyone to go ahead and patch their systems as soon as possible. The patching is easier said than done, but again, in most of the scenario where you are using the browser and Office are general desktop environment, and patching there should not be that difficult. So please go ahead, make sure that the patches are there and you are safe from the RCE and other remote code execution vulnerabilities which were there, and some of them were used in wild as well. So happy patching. But this patching was for Microsoft products, and one of the product which was not included in that was Skype. Although Skype is in the portfolio of Microsoft since long, but somehow the patch cycles are not matching up with patch Tuesdays, and there was a very serious bug in the Skype downloadables and Skype binaries where DLL injection was possible. So a lot of noise has happened online already for that issue, and with that Microsoft has shut down, or rather removed, a lot of older versions of Skype from the website. Now you can download the latest one, where latest one is pretty safe. I think version 8, and it's good, it's safe, not vulnerable to that particular attack. But yes, Microsoft is trying to figure out the right approach to fix that DLL injection vulnerability in Skype. So Skype update also becomes a very very important thing as of this point. And that's it. That's what we had for this week's Sec Talk with Rohit Srivastwa. I'll look at the questions now, and maybe I will include them in the next version or the next episode of the Sec Talk. Keep liking, keep sharing, and thanks a lot for all of those people who poked me in between the week that why the video was not released and why the podcast was not out. So now you know the reason. Goa and Fun of Goa has actually stolen away one episode of the Sec Talk. But back on track, let's keep recording sessions, and let's keep releasing in time. Thanks a lot for being here till now. See you next week. Thank you.